Hello, everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you here for the last BizTalk of 2022. It was supposed to be about the accelerators and how startups can thrive through them, and it will be still. Although we had a little bit of problems because one of our guests has contacted COVID, and it is not possible for her to join us today. But fortunately, we have Dimitri from Mindly here, who will be able to tell us a little bit about his startup and Google Accelerator, and also, as we just learned here in the backstage, about the accelerator that he is running also for the startups in Ukraine and Moldova. So, without further ado, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome Dimitri from Mindly, and I tend to give a little bit time to our guests to tell about themselves. So I think it will be best. To for you to talk about your experience and Mindly as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Adrian, first of all, thanks so much for the invitation, for having me. It's a pleasure. So yeah, just a few words about myself. I'm originally from Ukraine, although I've lived for many years in Finland, UK, US, and in Cuba. I'm an engineer by education, so I have my degree from Cambridge, but also spent a year in MIT studying computer science and electrical engineering. Um, After graduation, I spent about 6 years in London working for within kind of finance, private equity, and after that, I decided to kind of build my own business. So my first project was it's called iHub, or short for Innovation Hub. It's four hubs, three of them in Ukraine and one in Moldova, which provide several services to kind of early stage and growing companies, growing tech companies. One is co-working. Two is various types of education and training, and then community. And since recently, we've launched a few batches for a very early stage startups in partnership with a Norwegian and a New York-based accelerator. So we've done two batches already, and we're getting ready for a few more early next year. And yeah, since early this year, I founded my latest company called Mindly, which is a two-sided marketplace for mental health care specialists and their clients.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit more about Mindly? How that idea was generated? Are you a solo founder, or do you have co-founders in your team, and how it all goes?
Sure. Yeah. So at the moment, I'm a solo founder. We have a team of 10 people, and I mean, the original idea came about a bit earlier at the onset of COVID. I started researching and learning more about psychology and how it can affect the person, both kind of in terms of just being happy and fulfilled and knowing exactly what you want from life. But on the other side as well, how do you understand yourself, but also understand other people around you? So this goes very deep. This goes into like, how do you become a good leader? You know, how do you become efficient, and so on. And I mean, that went really well with my kind of live view and my concept of, we're here for a very short period of time. Life is precious, and every single minute, every single day should really count. And and I felt like this is a sphere that, and very much in part to thanks to COVID, is going to play a major role. On the other side, if you look at general development, right? So over the course of the last 100 years, humanity has pretty much solved all problems. I mean, the level of safety, at least in developed and developing world, is very high. In terms of healthcare, physical healthcare, it's super hard to die from some kind of a disease because doctors today can treat pretty much anything, and even soon will pretty much be able to treat most forms of cancer in later stages as well. So and our lifestyle is becoming ever more fast. The amounts of information we have to process is just going through the roof, especially during the course of the last couple of decades. So more and more we start to realize that the actual problems and issues, they're more and more within our head, within our brain. And if over the last 50 years or more, many people understand that you have to have a fit body. And to have a fit body, you have to eat well, you have to exercise. But when it comes to mind, it's still at very, very early stages. And we at Mindly believe that actually having a fit mind and exercising your own mind is even more important than exercising your brain. So I'm not trying to say that physical fitness is not important. It is extremely important, but everything begins with the mind. So if your mind is well, it's going to be so much easier to keep your body fit and healthy as well. So myself and my early team felt that there was a lot of opportunity to explore in this field. And actually, the idea started. We just started talking to as the COVID hit. Started talking to a lot of therapists around Kiev, and we've launched a bunch of online webinars just to help the population in general and people who are facing very, very difficult times. Lockdown. First, especially the first and second lockdown was very difficult, and that just kind of caught on. And the more I started to realize how important it is and how undervalued, unfortunately, it is in our society, the more I felt like we have to do something about it.
I love how you started this with something that can imitate the product a little bit with the webinars and talking with the therapists in Kiev. And I have a question about that. But before we go there, I want to ask a little bit more about the market. Like I'm still living in the UK. You lived in the UK, so you probably saw that those wellness startups focus on mind health are thriving here and growing very very fast. But like in the part of Europe that we're both from, there is a lot of stigma about mental health. So can you tell us a little bit more how that mental health startups are doing in Ukraine? And do you see that there is like a change in perspective around society about mental health, and it's a good time to start a business like that?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with you. In general, kind of Eastern Europe and even parts of Central Europe as well have, because of the history, have huge stigma issues when it comes down to, mental health care and psychology in general. Most people, unfortunately, believe that, therapy and psychology is something for crazy people. They don't realize that it's actually an important and functional tool. And, in general, it's a science. Psychology is a science, and it's one of those sciences that's still going to be around even when we kind of disprove all the laws of Newton, in say 500 years, or maybe a little bit more. Psychology is still going to be there. I'm pretty sure about that. And maths, those are the two things that are going to be very, very difficult to change. And it's been evolving not for hundreds of years, but it's been evolving for hundreds of thousands of years. So that shows a huge opportunity. As stigma, these stigmatic views are mostly with kind of the older population. If you look at the younger population that is growing and are more open, are more kind of Western minded. We see a huge influx and a huge, in general, actually, a huge growth of openness and adoption of the concept that, well, actually keeping your mind fit, having a therapist is not useful. It's not just useful, but it's actually cool. Of course, we're just like early on. There's much to be done. It's going to take years, but I think that presents for a company like Mindly an amazing opportunity going forward.
Okay. And obviously, we will have to segue somehow to accelerators. So let's do that with another question about your startup. So, are you already live and open for users? Is your app already on App Store or a Google Play Store?
Yeah, so we've launched an MVP early on, early this year, and then after some early stage beta testing, we've started developing our version one, and we've launched version one across all the app stores end of September, and actually tomorrow or maybe early next week we're launching the second version. And after that, we're going to be going into an active campaign, active growth phase when it comes down to our marketing effort. So we've had and we continue having our current customers.
Okay.
We can,
So
we can get it as well, but unfortunately, all the therapists work with Russian and Ukrainian languages, so that may be a bit of a challenge.
Okay. So going to our main topic of accelerators. So accelerators in general help startups at the fairly early stage to speed up the process and progress much faster than they would be able to do that on their own. If you can tell us a little bit about your progress and how you were choosing the accelerator. Was Google Accelerator the only one that you were applying for, or you were choosing them based on or a certain criteria?
Sure. Yeah. So Google Accelerator, Google for Startups Accelerator was the only accelerator where we've applied, and very grateful that we actually got in and had an amazing 10 weeks program. Um, Overall, I mean, the way it has impacted us is just it's paramount. So it has both impacted the business, the team, and myself as the founder, as the leader on a personal level. And I mean that spans everything from kind of how I personally manage my time, and obviously as a founder 99% of my time goes to kind of doing business or learning things that are directly related to the business. How I manage my team, how my teammates manage their time, how efficient they are, how we collaborate as a team, you know, what kind of OKRs we're setting, all the way up to kind of what's our tech stack, how do we hire more senior people, you know, how do we strengthen our team and so on. So you know, it has impacted across, you know, across the whole, if you will, kind of across the whole stack, which you need to kind of work on as a founder and as a business owner.
I understand. And can you tell us a little bit more about the onboarding process and how it went through? Like, did you have a lot of interviews with people at Google, or how they were choosing whether you're a startup, right, for the accelerator? As you said, like you started just early this year, so there are obviously some startups that take some couple of years before they actually reach the level of acceleration. So how it all look for you?
Sure. Well, yes and no. So like acceleration has, you know, whether you're ready for an acceleration, it's two levels. It's both, yeah, is your company, your team sort of ready? If it's super early stage, probably you need a little bit more time, and also like the founder or the founding team, are you ready for that? And it's both things. You can't have one or the other. Um, when it comes down to the actual process, so there was, you know, there was an application form. You fill out a form, pretty straightforward, and then after a while they reach out to you. I think there was a series of online interviews, obviously. Yeah, and then we got the positive email from the team. That was
I understand.
pretty straightforward, and yeah, it didn't take that much time. I mean, but yeah, you have to put in a couple of good days of work, yeah, to do the application form and prepare a little bit for the interviews.
I understand. And as you said, it was a 10 weeks program. And how it looked from the start? Did you had already assigned mentors, or you were able to choose them from the list? How did that look like?
Sure. So the team has, there were numerous forms once you get in before each session, where you kind of you outline what are your challenges, what you'd like to work, what areas you need support in, and then based on that, they search through lots and lots of Googlers and ex-Googlers, and people Google has worked with and currently works with, and they find the right people. And there's been a lot of mentors across the 10-week program, and I could say that every single one-on-one mentoring session was either super useful or just like in general very useful. So they do a very good and thorough job on two levels. Level one, they really understand what the business is, and the challenges, and they're really kind of uh, picking out the right experts, so you don't actually even have to do it, because picking out the right experts, you need to know who they are. You need to research them a lot, um, and that takes a lot of time actually, and you can get it wrong. When you have a team doing it for you, that saves a ton of time, and must admit they kind of each time they got it really 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 well.
I understand. Yeah, and I assume when Google is reaching out for you, asking to be a mentor, is way easier than some small startups reaching out to for expertise of very busy people. So that's definitely
Probably.
helps a lot. And can you tell us a little bit about like a biggest challenge that you managed to overcome during the accelerator and how it all looked like?
So I think one of the biggest challenges, probably for me as a kind of a technical founder who loves coding, loves technology, and as we're building a technology company, you always want to think that technology is super important and the most important thing in the world. Um, I still believe technology is super important, but it may not be the most important thing if you're the CEO. What the acceleration program helped me kind of overcome, and I'm sure many technical founders have faced or are facing similar challenges, is that as a CEO, your most important goal is to make sure you have a strong team. Your goal is to find the right team, to support the team, to make sure the team is efficient and effective, to make sure that the sum of the parts of your team is not less than each one individually, but like x 5 or x 10 as a team. That the culture is great, that everybody loves what they're doing. Otherwise, you're going to have a huge kind of turn rate, and um, make sure you are able to kind of hire top talent, given your realities of the stage you're at. That's the key. The CEO has to build a strong team. Without a strong team, I mean, there's just so little you can do as a CEO, or even if you have a group of co-founders. So um, Google has given like very concrete, exact tools and methods uh, that were surprisingly fit for Mindy at our stage and the challenges we're facing. So everything starting from OKRs. We haven't set OKRs. So we've started setting OKRs. Well, we've tried setting OKRs before, but it's not that straightforward. Now we got the hang of it. We've implemented Agile and Scrum. Before, we just had a kind of a general waterfall approach, wasn't that effective. Where we've been, and we continue working on fixing the many dysfunctions that we've had, and we still remain several on our team. So and also helped me understand my hiring needs. So before the program, I had a very different vision of how to grow the company, and now I realize that would have literally doomed the company. Um, and they've actually helped me readjust my plan for the next kind of 6 to 12 months of how I should grow the team, and what expertise, what domains I need to be looking for. Everything from growth, marketing, to the engineering team, and to product.
Okay. Uh, Yeah, that's really interesting, and I have my list of questions here, and I can already see that you probably answered another one. So, what was the biggest change before and after the accelerator? But yeah, it's great that you're mentioning it because like. I'm a huge fan of accelerator programs and the case studies how the startups look before and after. So I'm glad to hear that for you that the change and progress was immense. And I actually had the opportunity to see the graduation meeting. So I saw all those like OKRs from different startups, and it was great to see how much they done in that short 10 week time frame. So because your startup is from Ukraine, and obviously, like the the accelerator was organized by Google for startups, mostly probably located in Poland. How that affected your company, or do you see that joining Google for startups in Poland was good for you at that stage? Would that help with the maybe international expansion of your app, or how that works for you?
Yeah, so yeah, I think most of the team were based or from Poland. But a very important factor to kind of underlying at this stage is that Google for Startups acceleration program Europe was for startups that were originating from Europe plus Israel, but I would say all of them have a kind of global ambition. So all of them are looking at the whole world as their marketplace. Um, and when it comes down to the actual program, the program was very international. So many companies had specific plans for specific countries in the quarters to come. They were able to kind of meet them very well. When it comes to Mindly, for the time being, we're only offering services in kind of Russian, Ukrainian languages, but we have customers all across Europe. So and we plan to kind of expand to English during the course of next year. So the approach of the program and the mentors and the support they gave uh, was off the bat and from day one focusing on the world as a global marketplace. Without any specifics and without any kind of focus on borders, um, targeting specific countries in each specific case. So, for example, like we've discussed an interesting strategy. How do you enter the U.S. market through Spanish language? For example, you have over 100 million people who speak Spanish, as their native language or as their kind of family language in the U.S. or almost as much as that. So, different kind of strategies, but the approach was always international. It was never targeted only to Ukraine or only to Poland. So I think that worked out really well.
Okay, and you mentioned that a little bit, but can you tell us how the accelerator help you improve as an entrepreneur, as a founder? You mentioned that you have that strictly technical background, so I assume that the impact on those other skills on that entrepreneurial spectrum was for you the most. Important.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said earlier, the acceleration program and the people and the mentors that took part in it helped on many levels. So if you look at the personal level, the level of a CEO or a founder, um, it was very clear that once you're building a company, it's just insane. You have no time for nothing. The only thing you can think about and dedicate your time and effort and energy and money is the business that you're building. But what's super important is not to forget about yourself. So many of them said many times that first and foremost you have to be the founder of yourself. If you don't stay fit, if you don't stick to a good schedule, if you don't have a clear mind, um, building a company is not a sprint. It's a marathon. uh, if if you forget about yourself, you will not be efficient. you will be making more and more mistakes the further along you go. So it helped you kind of realize that you shouldn't forget yourself in the whole equation. You need to understand that it's going to take a long time. It's not going to take a month or two to build a great company. It's going to take years, and you need to make sure that you're still there, years down the road. So they've approached it really well. I mean, like really understanding that you have to have a keep your life balanced. Like for example, I've completely revamped the way I plan my day. They've recommended, they've had actually a couple of trainings based on a book called Make Time. I've actually implemented the Make Time strategy to my own kind of how I organize my time. Even my girlfriend is organizing her time now according to that book. My team is organizing their time according to that book. Immediately you have more time, you get more things done, you're much more focused. So it's the funny thing is, but it's those, it's the many small things that you need to put together. Then you need to make a habit out of it so that you don't lose focus. There's so much information, so many things to do. And then there's also the business that you need to build, and there's so much stuff around that. And if you don't stay fit, if you don't have your clear focus, what you want to achieve today, this week, this month, this quarter, you're just you won't be able to build a very straight road from A to B, and then from B to C, and then eventually to a successful company. So that was kind of an interesting and refreshing approach, because I've seen many of my colleagues, and I've done that mistake in the past as well, where you just forget about yourself and you just keep working, and then the guaranteed end result is always burnout and not a successful company.
I understand. Yeah, like, and I'm really happy to hear about another book that I should add to the list of Christmas present that I should give for myself.
Yeah,
So
this one, it's great. Highly recommend it.
okay. Great. I'll definitely add that, and I hope some of our listeners will get that book as well. So going slightly away from Google, because now you in iHub are doing your own acceleration program as well, uh, but still connected to what you experience at Google for Startup Accelerator. Do you see any things that need to be improved that you see like didn't work very well, so like we try to do it better and our own accelerator, or uh, do you see anything like that?
So yeah, just to clarify, kind of as part of iHub, and I'm not part of the management team
Oh,
anymore. So I sometimes I act as a mentor. That's my extent, and share my experience and wisdom. But iHub runs in partnership with the Ukrainian government an acceleration program for early stage Ukrainian startup entrepreneurs, and we've run two batches with two different programs. One was built with a partner in partnership with a Norwegian accelerator, and another one with a US New York based accelerator. So we're doing this in partnership with European and US based accelerators to kind of bring more experience to Ukraine, to the Ukrainian tech ecosystem. I was never a startup that went through the acceleration, so I only have the view of a business owner and an occasional mentor. Having said that, it would be incredible to try to do something similar with Google, but I don't know if that's even remotely possible. Um, so it's super hard to compare and contrast. But what I can say about the Google program is that it's it's super hard to kind of see what could have been done better, because it's been an incredible program. Like I expected it to be very interesting, but to be honest, not even close to as interesting and impactful as it has been. The only thing that I would wish they would implement sometime maybe in the future for future batches is like a some sort of a follow-on program, 3 or 6 months further down the road. Could be a little bit lighter, not as intense as the initial acceleration, just to kind of follow on, catch up with the startups, to really see that progress. Because the funny thing about acceleration is that you don't expect to see a lot of progress within those 10 weeks, right? Um, unless you're really close. So you won't see like huge revenue growth or like huge user growth. Those things come in the next 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 months. So it will be incredible to see kind of some kind of follow on when the startups would be able to kind of deliver and report on real business results, and then tie those in to the things and the findings and the changes they've implemented during the course of the 10-week program. That would be incredible, in my view.
That's definitely a good idea, and I hope people from Google will implement that. And you actually mentioned a couple of things that they implement, so like OKRs, and like even though a lot of the, the people that might listen to us are not the founders, but still a lot of those tools or methods might be great to like start your own startup, or maybe do something like around entrepreneurship. So which tools or methods do you recommend for our listeners to learn a little bit more about, and maybe try to implement to their own entrepreneurial path or day-to-day life?
Well, so OKRs are actually uh, incredible, and you can use them in your own personal life as well. So you can set your own OKRs for a quarter, for 6 months, or for a year, and then try to kind of execute on those OKRs. So I highly recommend that. I'm doing it myself, so that you can also use in your own personal life. When it comes down to business and entrepreneurship, uh, it all depends on kind of what stage you're in. But if you're super early stage, uh, absolutely start implementing OKRs. Otherwise, you and your team wouldn't know where you're going, and there would be no real metrics to track your progress. And then that's just super hard to get lost, because when you're starting a business, you need to have focus, because the opportunities are always endless, and you will always be working hard, and you will see some incremental progress. But if it's not in a straight line, um, you know with the aim to achieve a certain goal, you will not achieve any goal, because you're going to be chasing 20 goals, and not a single goal will be achieved in the end of the period. So that's number one. I would say number two is kind of um, start with yourself. See if you're efficient. In this world of social media and continuous infinity pools and distractions here and there, it's really hard to kind of keep your focus. So yeah, check your phone. Like, does it bother you? Can you be creative? Maybe turn off all the notifications, get rid of all the social media from your phone. It's pretty useless in my view. um, see if the things that you're doing day in day out yield the results you want to have. If not, then maybe something needs to be changed, and that usually kind of boils down into building correct personal habits and routines, so you don't have to think or waste any of your kind of mental energy on being organized, and being focused. Then all that energy is going to flow into doing productive work for your business. um, I think it's also super important to understand people. Towards the end of the day, like a business, what is a business? A business is just a group of people that have a joint mission, that share a set of values, and that are trying to create something that hopefully will be beneficial and useful for many other people, right? But fundamentally, it's just a group of people. Um, to get a good group of people together and make sure that there's incredible synergies that can work together, you need to understand people, right? So, and that starts with understanding yourself, and then learning other people, and then making sure that you can work together more efficiently as a team, as opposed to as a set of individuals working individually. And for CEOs and founders, I can not understress this. Technology is great, and you can have the best technology, but if you don't have a strong team, it's super hard to do anything. And mind that you don't need to have like A players or like the best of the best, because it's super hard to hire those. They're not going to work for you at the very early stage. So best experts is not really as important, as building the right team, finding the right people that truly deeply share the values and really care for the thing you're building, right? And try to change the world in some way. So as an interesting example, I don't know, Adrian, have you heard about the experiment with the marshmallow and spaghetti?
Actually, yeah, I not only heard about it. That was the very first day at UCO School of Management. We did that experiment,
Hmm.
and it was absolutely fantastic. I do not want to spoil it for anyone who has never done it before. I recommend to actually check it online and try to do it yourself to figure out what you can get with that, because it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it proves that you don't need the cleverest, the best people on your team to achieve a goal, right? You need a strong team,
Yeah.
as in the case of those kindergartens that beat everybody else in the game. So that's something that I think like the founder or specifically the CEO has to really really focus on, and never kind of put it on a second level after the technology or whatnot.
Okay, and we're getting close to the end, but I still have one more question for you. And what is the future for you and Mindly now that the accelerator is finished? What are the plans for 2022?
Sure. So yeah, we're expanding quite quickly. Like I said, we're launching version 2, and early next year we're starting a very active growth campaign. Also, um, I've onboarded our first senior product manager, so I'm really happy she joined the team. And also in the next weeks and months to come, we are gonna hire a few more senior positions to strengthen the team. And then very likely we're gonna be looking to raise around sometime during the summer, maybe fall of 2022, to even further accelerate the team and the growth, but also get some experienced people on board to help us scale further to the next level.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So I believe we all know what to wish to you during the Christmas and holiday period, and I wish you all the best and further successes with Mindly, and I'll be very happy to hear about some major round from Eastern European startups with some fantastic VC. And I would like to wish all the best to Magda from Google. That was supposed to be here with us today, but obviously the health is more important. So we wish you will get better. And please vaccinate yourself and look after your family, so we can deal with the pandemic sooner than later.
Thank you so much, Edwin, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you.